All right, Free Talk Tuesday on a Monday, being recorded on a Sunday. So let's see how this goes. Excited to talk to you guys today. This is going to be an episode that I'm very excited to share with you guys. I'm going to go over the Bills game grades for the players from PFF, my thoughts on them, and where the roster really stacks up now that we've gone through one really real preseason game, and as we have two more left. There's a lot to be decided still, and the next two games will definitely decide that. There are rumors swirling out there right now that Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles are fed up with Nate Davis. They're putting him on the chopping block, not cut, but seeing if there is a trade partner. I don't love hearing that. It's a rumor at this point. I haven't found a legitimate source, but it is floating around Twitter. So we'll see if there's legs to that. I don't like it. Nate Davis is injured. People go through injuries. We'll see if he can heal and recover from it and go from there. For those who don't know, we do Free Talk Tuesday on Tuesdays. With Hard Knocks being on Tuesdays, I've moved that to Mondays. It's really inconvenient for my schedule. So I'm recording it on Sunday while my little girls are down for their nap. But with that, I'm putting out a good chunk of stuff in spurts and at times because of my schedule. But I could really use your guys' help. I do want to grow the channel through this season. I want to get to 10,000 subscribers so I can make this something legitimate I can put more time into. I really enjoy doing this. The things like breaking down film, breaking down the players, breaking down stats and analysis of it. I might not always be right on my predictions, but I can give you guys insight as to what I see on players and what they're doing and how they're performing and what I like and don't like, and maybe guys that we can go after. So there's a lot of that stuff I want to share. If you don't mind hitting the like button, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it, and I'm going to continue to grow. This channel will get better and better. Little things like the microphone being off yesterday, not off, but off of the right settings, will get fixed through time. Give me a shot. Please hit that like button, subscribe button, and, of course, bear down. So let's jump into it. There's a lot to go over. This is the Bears versus Bills grade episode. So obviously we have a lot to be excited about. The defense absolutely shut down the Bills, especially the first team defense that when their starters were in, didn't allow a single point. Now, some of their starters were still in when they kicked a field goal, but a lot of their starters had already come out. So it was really good to see our defense do that. And really, if you look at the top box score there, third and fourth quarters when we scored the most, we had a lot of our backup players really perform really well, but there were some good guys that were rotating in with the starters that did really well as well. So there's a lot to be excited about with this. Let's get right into the actual meat and potatoes of this. Let me remove this banner. Oh, the banner. If you guys don't mind, if those who want to, on fantasy, on Yahoo Sports Fantasy, I'm going to create, as you guys know, this channel just got started around December 1st of last year. So it's not been around a really long time. This is the first year I have an opportunity to do a fantasy football league. I want to do a fantasy football league with you guys with some prizes. So a couple of people saw on the community tab of me a little announcement for that. Those who want to, just send me a message on Twitter at Adam H. Mason. If you don't follow me, that's fine. I understand. I can do some ranting and raving on Twitter, and a lot of people don't like to be on Twitter. Or you can email me at adamhmason@gmail.com. Just put in the subject line fantasy football so that I take a look at it and then send you an invite. I want to get a big number of people, and we're going to do a live draft party for one of these Free Talk Tuesdays on a Tuesday where it's actually back to normal Tuesdays. And we'll do that before Hard Knocks airs. So check that out. If you want to join, I'd love to have as many people join as possible. All right, so let's get into the grades for this team. Let me remove my mug from the screen so you guys can see this. We'll start with the offense, go to the defense this time, go through some of these grades on here. Those who remember from last week, I put up any player who was above 75 because I call those elite athletes. There were so many that were close that I had to add these last couple in that were with 1.5 points of 75, and then any below 50 are my duds. The guys who need to rethink their lives and up their ante a little bit and get serious because they might not make this team if they don't start to produce. So On the top of the list there on offense, Doug Kramer. Now, realize Doug Kramer was playing with the third stringers. It was the Bills' third stringers didn't look good, but still, he played a good game. 91.5 PFF grade on offense. Ian Wheeler, number 2, 90.7. Obviously, 2 touchdowns, 8 total snaps, 2 pass snaps, 5 run snaps, and 1 run block. And his run block snap was really good. So that was promising. I'll get into that in the running backs, but that gives us the ability, if he's going to be a good run blocker, good pass blocker, if he's going to be a good blocker, that gives us the ability to maybe cut some of those guys that are out of the fringe, like Travis Homer or Kerry Blasingame. There's some flexibility because he's a big-bodied, strong receiver that has the ability to be a multi-threat for us. So I'm going to bring me back on. It's kind of weird to talk and not have me on there. Doug Kramer, Ian Wheeler, Tevin Jenkins. Love to see that. One of the highest grades, 90.3, and everything about his game. Run block, pass block, we'll get into that, but he played extremely well. DJ Moore, even with the 1 drop, it was a tough catch, more of a contested catch drop than an actual drop. 81.3 grade. Bill Murray continues to shine. That's him on the bottom right. That's his little mug shot. Ian Wheeler's the center guy, and obviously Caleb Williams on the left. Bill Murray continues to shine. I have high hopes of him making the roster at this point after 2 straight weeks. We'll see how. So we'll preface this again, guys. It's preseason. It's preseason. Let's just reemphasize that one more time, that it's preseason. There's only so much you can gauge, but that's why there's three games. That's why there's a joint practice with the Bengals. That's why there's so much to go through in the preseason, because there's so much that can be gauged from this. But when Bill Murray has 2 straight weeks that look really good, that bodes well for him making this team. So I feel really good about Bill Murray. In fact, I feel really good about both sides of the trenches. That will come out in this video, but I feel really good after yesterday's game. They need to keep it up. I'm not expecting them to beat every team 33-6, but I do want to see consistency and good play, both offense and defense, on the ball. Cole Kmet had a good grade. Aviante Collins had a good grade. Austin Reed had a good grade, and Caleb Williams had a good grade. So on the offense, those are our offensive studs of the games. Here's a couple of stat breakdowns of some of them. Ian Wheeler is 92 PFF grade, 5 rushes for 43 yards, so over 8 yards per attempt, and 2 rushing touchdowns. And he looked really good doing it. Very quick burst, very good cuts, and able to lower the shoulder if needed to. On the first touchdown, he pushed and forced. He backed his way into the end zone. It looked really good. Tevin Jenkins, 23 snaps, 100% pass block efficiency, looked really solid. Please, Tevin, just stay healthy this year. No injuries. Earn that extension. I would love for us to pay you. Let's get to the bye week and have your agent be signing that extension for 3 additional years at a very reasonable, I don't know, $15, $18 million a year. I think that would be awesome to see. Caleb Williams, 20 snaps, 4 for 7, 95 yards. One of those was a throwaway. And really, if you really break down the film, I haven't done that on this channel yet, but if you break down the film, it looked like he was trying to throw it to Rome Odunze because he thought he would get the PI call and didn't. The other 2 missed Rome on one, and then the drop by Cole Kmet as well. So 13 yards rushing on the 1 rushing play as well. Brennan Bates continues to impress me. This might not be one that you noticed in the game, but he played 19 snaps and 80.9 PFF grade. On special teams, he's shown this week. Shown? He stood out. He stood out this week with 3 tackles on special teams. He looked really good. And when Matt Eberflus talked about it, if you're one of those fringe guys, if you're right on the edge of making this roster, you need to stand out. You need to show off and be able to set yourself aside so that you're noticeable. And he's not only so coming out of college. I did a video on him, and if you guys go back and look at that, he wasn't an elite catcher. That wasn't his thing. He was a pass blocker. He's been really good with his pass blocking, 69 pass or block grade overall. That's run block and pass block. But then tackling on special teams and then receiving. He's been a really solid receiver. Let me just pull this up for you. So here is his PFF. This is Brennan Bates. We'll scroll down here. I know it's a limited sample. I get that, guys. Very limited sample. Here's the 2 games for him, though. So you can see tight end against Houston, against Buffalo, Hall of Fame game, preseason game 1. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 100% receiving, 63 yards, 21 yards per reception. So it looks really good. His grades are solid across the board. Pass blocking, Really good grades everywhere. This is exactly what you want to see. I think it makes it really hard for them to cut him at this point or to even send him to the practice squad because teams are going to notice how well he's been playing. So this is his past snaps where he's lined up. We'll scroll right past this. That's not really important to where we are right now. Here's his yak. Let go. So 37 yards after the contact, which is after the catch, which is solid. I mean, that's elite, but it's preseason. You're not going to see that. Yards per route run, 4.85. That's good. But 0 drops, 1 contested catch out of 1 opportunity. So he was able, I mean, that's 100%. Again, limited sample size, but everything there looks really, really good. So you love to see that out of him. And I have nothing but praise for him at this point. I think he's absolutely standing out on this team. So Brendan Bates is my 4th one, and I couldn't. There's too many, so I had to put Doug Kramer in there. He had such a good game, and he's played kind of rough up till now. So I wanted to kind of recognize him as one of the offensive players of the game. And then Bill Murray continues to shine. 77.1 PFF grade. Combine that with last week's. Looks really, really. In fact, we'll head over to Bill Murray now so you can see him. 6'4", 307. He's converted. He played other positions. Defensive player, they got converted. Oh, that's why 2024. Let's go to preseason and look at him so far. Everything looks really good. Overall, 46 offensive snaps, 18 pass block or run block, 28 pass blocking. I mean, off the charts. And that's what we need. We need better pass blockers for a rookie quarterback. I get it. This is preseason. I get it. He's played mostly with the second string. He did play some first string snaps, just so you guys know. So this looks really good. What you want to see here is his pass blocking efficiency with 100%, 0 sacks, hits for 0 pressures allowed on 28 opportunities for a tackle/guard. You want to see that right around, I mean, for your best ones, you want right around 1 out of every 25. So, he's playing really, really well, but it's preseason against lower level competition. So I hope he gets some more reps the next couple of games. And as long as he's showing up against the lower competition, no reason to think he can't play well against the upper competition. Not expecting him to start. That's not what I'm saying. But to make this roster, that's what you want to see out of a swing tackle, out of someone that can fill in while Kieran Amagaji is going through his redshirt year, learning on the fly and growing. So I like to see that quite a bit. So that's one of the things that stood out to me so far in camp. So that's the stuff I'm going to try to show to you guys on this channel. Bear with me as I continue to put all that together. But all right, next we're going to go to the offensive duds. I don't love to do this. I don't love to show it, especially when it involves Darnell Wright. He had a rough game. Not a great game for Darnell Wright. Penalties, holding, and then letting his guys slip through a couple times. Didn't allow any pressures, but he wasn't really holding up his end. Didn't look great. Jerome Carvin after last week, I was hopeful. Excuse me. He would kind of step in there. Had a rough week. Khalil Herbert didn't give me too much excitement. When you hear they're rumors, guys. I don't think there's any truth to it. I don't think there's any way we trade Khalil Herbert. But when you hear rumors of it, and then he has a 47.5 PFF grade for this game, his first game, a Hall of Fame game, he looks really, really good. This game, his pass blocking wasn't the best. His runs weren't quite as crisp. I mean, just over 3 yards per carry. So a little bit of a disappointment there. And Gerald Everett, same thing. Don't love to see that either because he's a really good receiving tight end. So you give him a pass. It's one game. It could be worse. So I'm not going to sit here and dwell on this. I'm not going to say it's the end of the world for these guys because obviously these are high-level guys. You just don't love to see that out of your first-round tackle, your right tackle that you spent a first-round pick on. And I'm not calling him a bust, and I don't want anybody to overreact, but this does make you want to see improvement next week. Positive of the game, there's only 3 pressures allowed the entire game. And unfortunately, from players that I think are all cut candidates, in fact, I have them all projected to be cut. So Aviante Collins, Travis Homer, and Larry Borum all had pressures allowed. No sacks allowed on the game. That's not true. There was a sack, actually. Look at it. In fact, they put so ESPN and FF are very different. They've got Tyson Bagent being sacked once, but PFF doesn't show that. So either way. So there's our duds for the offense. We're going to go to the defense. Let me move me off again so you guys can see that. And this is very encouraging for me. Very, very encouraging. It makes it hard for the linebacker position, though, because all these guys are right there on that bubble. Which one's going to make the team? I have no freaking clue at this point. Because Amen Ogbongbemiga was the guy they went and signed and spent money on. 89.1 grade, but Micah Baskerville, who's been working his butt off for several seasons to get that role, had a 97 PFF grade, one of the highest grades you can possibly get. Really good in coverage, really good on his pass rush. He had a pressure, and of course, he had the pick 6. So that makes it hard. Who are you going to take? And then you've got Carl Jones as well, who played really well last week, but had a little bit of a different week this week. But here's the top guys on defense. You see the grades there. I did the same thing. I had to include Zach Pickens and Jalen Jones because they did play really well, just a 2.5 points off the 75. So I did include them. But the defensive line there, Zach Pickens, Austin Booker, Khalid Kareem, really encouraging to see that. And Jalen Johnson, Jalen Jones, really good to see the defensive backs as well. And Quindale Johnson having a bounce back week. His week wasn't so great last week. So here's kind of the standouts. And then I did add Jamari Cromrod down here to the bottom right. He had a 67.4 PFF grade, but as I watched the all-22 tape and as I watched the plays, he had 3 pressures. Sorry for the typo there. Pressures. He had 3 pressures, and every one of them resulted in a sack. So even though he didn't get the sack off of it, he got 1 tackle. Look at his numbers, 15.4 pass rush win rate and 11.5 PRP. That's PFF's metric for basically pressures per snap or per play or how many plays between pressures. It's not exact. It grades things differently than the way I do it. I should just use mine, but theirs is easier and more convenient. You see like Khalid Kareem, who had a sack and 3 tackles and was in on a lot of stuff. He didn't create as much pressures, but he had a 22.2 pass rush win rate. Anything over 10 is really, really good for pass rush win rate. We were dominating in this game, every aspect of it. So our defensive line, the trenches, alleviated a lot of concerns. I'm going to call this the game that alleviated a lot of concerns, but we still need to see it in the future moving forward. We need to see it in the next couple of games. So it's not like everything's all fixed and we're perfect and we're going to go 17-0 and we're going to go 24-0 or whatever with a Hall of Fame game and the 3 preseason games and the playoffs, and we're going to win the Super Bowl with a perfect record. That's not what I'm saying, but this was encouraging, and you have to take the positives where you get them because there will be a negative at some point in this season. Caleb will have a bad game. Austin Booker won't be a human highlight reel god every single game. Montez Sweat's going to have a rough. Something will happen, and you got to take the positives when you can. So you look at the defensive ends first. Defensive lineman. I'm going to start with that. So Jamari Cromrod mostly lining up on the defensive tackle position, just inside a lot of the 5 gap, a lot of 3 gap, right between in there, sometimes over the guards, sometimes in the gaps. Looked really solid. 21 snaps, 67.4 PFF grade, 3 pressures, 1 tackle, and of course, 15.4 pressure pass rush win rate and 11.5 pressures between snaps. But look at Daniel Hardy, 6 pressures, 3 sacks. He was snacking on that offense. 15.8 pass rush win rate. So his pass rush win rate wasn't as high as Khalid Kareem's, but his pressures, almost 1 out of every 4 plays. That's freaking elite. Only played 10 snaps, but every snap he was in, you noticed him in the game. He had a great game. So I like to see these guys that have been working hard get that payoff. And then, of course, Austin Booker, who to me is already an ascending star. Guys, we found a great one. We found a Max Crosby. 32 snaps, 79.6 PFF grade, 2 tackles, 3 sacks, 5 pressures. So even though he had 3 sacks, they had 2.5 on ESPN. PFF had 3. Don't get stuck on those things. He was in there a lot. 5 pressures, but look at 18.2 pass rush win rate, which is elite, and 18.2 pressures. So balanced out. He was doing everything. Pass rush win and creating pressures and getting the sacks and the tackles. He was doing the whole deal. So Austin Booker, he's anybody who isn't believing on Austin Booker yet, just keep watching the games. He'll keep doing it. He's already doing it. He's going to keep doing it. Micah Baskerville on the far left, of course, the pick 6. That was a lot of fun to watch. 19 snaps in the game, 97.0 PFF grade, 16.7 NFL passer rating against him. Basically 6 passes went against him and only 1 was completed, and then he got the tackle right after that. And he did create a pressure on a pass rush opportunity on the outside as the linebacker blitzing. So just almost a perfect game for him. Like seriously, almost a perfect game. So fun to see guys like that get the payoff how do you cut one of these guys at this point? Jalen Johnson had a great game, 13 snaps, 83.2 PFF grade, basically picking up where he left off. 39.6 NFL pass rating against, as we know, last year was 33.3. So right there. And then he should have had the pick, which would have brought his NFL pass rating down, but he got held. I mean, it was offensive pass interference. They didn't call it, whatever, preseason game, not the end of the world, but he broke to the ball. He beat the defender. It was Keon Coleman. Beat the rookie, and the rookie grabbed his arm, held him back. He couldn't make the catch because of it. So really fun to watch both sides of the ball on this game. I was so engaged. Here's the downside, and that's not super encouraging on a couple fronts. Carl Jones, I think, is a guy that was on the verge of making the roster after last week. Now, hard to say because so many other linebackers stepped up. That's why we got 4 preseason games. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. Tremaine Edmonds, you don't want to see that. He was in on one really good play where he was right there on Josh Allen in his face. He could have kept going, trying to get the sack, but Josh Allen's an elite runner against that. He's good at throwing the ball away. So he pulled up, positioned himself, and then when Josh Allen went to throw, he tipped it. Could have turned into an interception. Should have. There wasn't anybody that close, but it could have. When the ball's in the air, it's always fun to think we could. Doug Coleman, not really fighting for his life at this point. I didn't have him making the roster before. I don't now. And Kevin Byard, I'm gonna tap this one off to being just a rough start to the preseason. You gotta get your feet back somewhere. Didn't love to see that. 20 snaps he was in, didn't look very good though. So he looked good all training camp. He's looked great all training camp. Multiple picks on Caleb, swarming the ball. Good coverage grades. There's no grade for it, but good coverage when what you've seen of the film of him in preseason, in practice. So I'm not too worried about Kevin Byard, but hopefully he recovers from that. And then on special teams, Brennan Bates, like I said, 75.8 on special teams grade with all those tackles, being in there on every play, good coverage, looked really good. And then Quindale Johnson had a good game as a safety, but then on special teams, when you're on that verge, you need to be a verge guy. You need to fight for your spot. Not good to see that. I don't love seeing that he didn't have the best game on special teams. So hopefully he'll improve on the next one, but I don't know if there was much shot of him making the team anyways at this point. So let's go through the team now, where it stands, and kind of my thoughts. I have broken this out a little bit more so it's more manageable and easy to read. I do think at this point we keep 3 quarterbacks, so I've got 3 listed. I don't think there's any way you can cut either of these guys at this point. And now Austin Reed is trying to make a game of it. And if Austin Reed beats out Tyson Bagent or Brett Rippon, why not keep the rookie that has 3 years of eligibility when you can continue to develop him? He had a good game. If you guys didn't see in the beginning, very beginning, right there, just defense. Right there on the bottom, let's move me off. Austin Reed right there. He had a 73.9 PFF grade. He looked pretty solid. So we'll see how that competition continues. There's a legitimate quarterback 2 competition, guys. there's no competition to quarterback 1 after that game. If you guys haven't seen a couple of the all 22s that I released yesterday, a couple of breakdowns of a couple of the plays, I'm going to try to do more of those. Might do whole episodes of the whole games at some point. Those would be super long because I like to thoroughly break things down so you guys can see how the play developed and evolved, but I don't want to bore you guys too much, make it long and drawn out. So they've been 1 play each for a couple minutes, like 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, to get through and explain the play. I'll probably keep to that, but I do want to keep doing that through the season. But there is a competition here for quarterback 2. Absolutely. After the first game Brett Rippon had, they didn't really even play him the second game. Tyson Bagent didn't look good in this game at all. Had the intentional grounding. He missed his cues. The handoff to Tyler Scott was not Tyler Scott's fault. That was Tyson Bagent. If you go back and look at the film, I've watched the entire game again on all 22 on the game. I've watched it twice. That's why I'm here, guys. That's why I'm talking to you guys, because that's what I do. Tyson Bagent wasn't clean. Can he pick it up? Yes. Do I think he's developmental and has a great shot still? Yes. Do I think he's getting cut from the team? No, I don't think he's getting cut from the team. I'm not impressed so far this preseason. In fact, Bears Wire, when they put their studs and duds of the game, they had Tyson Bagent as one of the duds of the game. That's USA Today. They put him as one of the duds of the game. So I'm not just talking out of my butt. I am giving my opinion. But even before I saw what they said, I was saying that yesterday and the day before Saturday. I was saying it on Saturday that he didn't look good. So I don't think he's in jeopardy of not making the team, but he needs to improve, just like a lot of other guys do. Right, for running backs, I really do think we're going to run with 5 running backs at this point. And after Ian Wheeler's game, there's no way you can cut him at this point. And Velus Jones, as a running back, looks really solid. A lot of people have the misconception Velus Jones wasn't back there for the kickoff return. He was. They sailed it over his head. And I even said that's why they did it. They don't want to be kicking it to guys like Velus Jones or Ian Wheeler. Ian Wheeler was not back there, but I do think at some point they are going to give him a shot at kick returns when he had multiple returns for touchdown in college, on his limited time in college. That's the other thing I love about Ian Wheeler, too, is he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires, just like Roschon Johnson. Now, Roschon Johnson didn't play in this game. Rest game for him. I fully expect him to be out in the next game. He's practiced almost every day of practice. Khalil Herbert didn't have a great game, but I don't think any of these 5 are in jeopardy of being cut. I really do think this is the way that the running back room is going to look, especially with kickoff rules and how valuable they are, and the pass blocking that Ian Wheeler showed. Roschon Johnson, Ian Wheeler, even Khalil Herbert's a decent pass blocker. All 3 of them make it expendable to get rid of Travis Homer and Gary Blasingame. Now, to be fair, the very first plays of the game, Gary Blasingame and Travis Homer were in on those plays. That's who was in for the very first series. And then DeAndre Swift came in, and you guys saw the huge run by DeAndre Swift. So who knows what will happen there, but that's kind of where I see things as they stand right now. Now, for your other playmakers, your wide receivers and tight ends, I know this is going to come as a little bit of a shock, but this is how I'm seeing it right now. I really do think that 6th wide receiver isn't going to happen. We'll carry some of these guys on the practice squad, but with the kick returns and the punt returns being covered by these guys, you might see DeAndre Carter make the punt return, Dante Pettis, but I really think a couple of these guys will be on the practice squad. And you're going to see Ian Wheeler. You're going to see Khalil Herbert. You're going to see Velus Jones. You're going to see the running backs taking those. Even Tyler Scott might take some punt returns. He's got to have a role on this team. He's not excelling as a wide receiver so far. Colin Johnson, special teams, tackling, laying the wood, coverage really good. On top of that, 6'6", and the game he had in the Hall of Fame game. There's no way you're cutting him either. So I see these as our 5 wide receivers right now. And you don't have to have 6, 7 wide receivers deep. My viewpoint on that has changed after I've decided that the running backs can really carry the load on kick return and punt return. And then with that, I'm having Brendan Bates make this team. I'm having 4 tight ends this year. I absolutely think with the way he's played, with his special teams ability, with his blocking, with his catching, everything he's done so far. I just showed PFF to you guys on Brendan Bates. Go back and look at that again if you want to. He's making this team. So this is the way I see it right now. It's becoming clearer to me. Now, as long as these guys keep playing up to it, and as long as they don't play down to something and work their way out of it, I do see this being the way it is. Now, DeAndre Carter did get a little bit of a signing bonus, over $1 million. Is that worth keeping him for? Do you just cut your loss on that one if he's not working out? I'm not saying DeAndre Carter's played terrible, but he hasn't stood out at all on any aspect of wide receiver, kick return, punt return. So it's not like we have to keep him at this point. And these 9 right here are a very solid offensive playmaker set right there. Combine that with your DeAndre Swift and your Ian Wheeler, Velus Jones, Roschon Johnson. Really, Velus Jones can play as that 6th wide receiver as well. So maybe they want to keep 6 running backs. It sounds crazy, I know. 6 running backs and 5 wide receivers and 4 tight ends. It's different, but it could happen. I'm just going off how the guys are playing right now, and this is how I see it. On the offensive line, Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton. Yes, I have Matt Pryor up there over Ryan Bates and Nate Davis. He played so well, and he started this last game. Now, I don't think they were doing that to send a message that he's starting over Ryan Bates, but I just put him up there for this graphic because he's playing so well. In reality, they've already said Nate Davis is the starter. Then you hear rumbles and rumors about how they could be shopping him. They could be shopping to replace him. You hear about other teams. They might acquire someone else. It's not out of the realm of possibility at this point. We could carry 10 offensive linemen if we acquire someone else, but this is how I see it right now. Larry Borum didn't play well. Alviante Collins didn't play well. Theo Benedict is now injured, at least for the start of the season. He'll start on the IR. He'll miss at least 4 to 6 games. Jake Curhan hasn't stood out. Tyree Carter's been okay, and he might actually get a roster spot because of that. Jerome Carvin was okay and didn't have a good game on this one, but Doug Kramer really played well on the 3rd string. I think he's locked up a spot on the practice squad again. But right now, this is where I see it, is with these 9. Maybe not the order you're seeing there, but that's really what I'm seeing as far as who are taken into the season. Very possible we could sign someone, especially one of the guards from Cleveland, if they end up cutting one of their all-pro guards, which could happen because they have to get down to salary cap. You got the defensive line, and this is the way I see it right now as it stands because of the huge game Jamari Cromwell had. He had a good game at the end of the Hall of Fame game. Zach Pickens is not standing out to me, guys. He's not up to snuff so far for me. Pickens, they gave him credit for a sack. Let's see right here. They gave him a credit for a sack in this game. PFF did not give him credit. Well, they did actually. You see it right there. Under pressures. That's the only pressure he's had. But if you watch the film, he didn't actually get a pressure there. He was actually by the line of scrimmage, barely qualified for a sack. The quarterback escaped because there was pressure from Jamari Cromwell and others pressuring in on him. So he escaped up the middle. And Zach Pickens is a decent tackling interior. That's how I see him. He's only a tackler. So he's not going to be your pressure guy. And in this defense, you need pressure. So you look at that 32 pass rush opportunities, only one pressure. And that one pressure really wasn't even a pressure. It just kind of fell into his lap where he got a sack when it wasn't. I mean, I'm not trying to bag on him, but that, if you go watch the play again, he just slipped off his blocker who was blocking him at the line. The only blocker that was doing a good job. Then Zach Pickens see the play falling apart, sees the quarterback going in his lane, which is the only place he could go. He slips off and gets the tackle, which is what it was. It was a tackle. A running back tackle was, so it wasn't really even a sack, but it is what it is. Stats count for how they are. But if you're looking at those pressures, 0 out of 32 pass rush opportunities, doesn't look good. It doesn't look good to me. I don't see him starting or being an impact on this team. So if anything, I see him as a defensive interior 5 at this point. And if you could put him on the practice squad, I would, to continue to develop with Eric Washington. But you can't do that. Second rounder with the potential he had from college, someone's going to scoop him up. You've got to cut guys to get them on the practice squad. So you have to cut guys down to the 53-man roster to be able to then sign them to your practice squad is what you have to do. So even when we cut down the 53-man roster, some of these guys we want on the practice squad might not end up with us because they see an opportunity where they could start or at least be on the 53-man roster somewhere else. So if we end up cutting a Dominic Robinson, which we won't at this point, he would probably get signed by someone for their 53-man roster. The same with, I mean, how do you after the game Khalid Kareem and Daniel Hardy had, and then you got Dominic Robinson, Jacob Martin, Jamari Cromwell, Austin Booker. I feel a lot better about this defensive unit. I really do. Now, am I saying I would oppose us going out and getting someone? Nope. Nope. If we traded for Trey Hendrickson, I would be freaking ecstatic. In fact, if we traded DeMarcus Walker as part of that package to make it so we had to give up less, because right now it sounded like the value would have to be at least 2 second-round picks for him. If we traded DeMarcus Walker, which would alleviate some cap space, and we get Trey Hendrickson back and we only have to give up 1 second-rounder, say next year's second-rounder, I would be all in favor for that. That might not quite be enough, but that would at least give them someone back with 2 years of control. I actually think that might be a decent possibility. It sounds like they don't want to trade him. So I'm just talking hypotheticals here, but that would be something I'd be willing to do. So if we had someone like that, am I opposed to that? No. Montez Sweat with Trey Hendrickson and Austin Booker rotating in. It's the guy who comes in to alleviate them. Freak, all of a sudden we went from a defensive unit that's not getting a lot of respect to a defensive unit that would be feared, absolutely feared. Then you got Andrew Billings and Gervon Dexter. Gervon Dexter is going to be a breakout, guys. Now, there wasn't anything flashy or spectacular yet, but we're in the beginning of preseason. Pull up his PFF, and you can see, I mean, he's just built now. This body was freaking crazy built if you see him in the press conference. So anyways, 11 pass rush opportunities so far. His tackling was really good. He did have 1 tackle, and it was a stop. So that was really good. And let me go here so you guys can see with that. See their definition. So right here, defensive stop, tackles that constitute a failure for the offense. So where the offense didn't get at least a line to gain or didn't get an opportunity to convert on 3rd down or 4th down. Those are stops. So those are bigger weighted plays, heavier plays. So when you see stop, that's what that means. So a stop, a tackle, and a pressure. Now, 1 out of 11 is not bad. You like to see someone in his position as the 3 technique, at least, you know, around every 8 plays, but I mean, it was limited snaps. That's all it was. It was limited snaps. So you see last year's preseason, he's already improved over last year's preseason, looks a lot better. Not a lot of opportunities. So these zeros, they look awesome, but it's really a limited sample size. This whole thing's a limited sample size. But if you watch the game, he looked good. There's people out there saying he didn't look good. Man, I got an itch on my nose. Sorry, guys. I don't know where that's coming from, because he did look good. He just didn't get ramped up yet. So you didn't see the 3-tech that you want to see bursting through. I think with more playing time, you'll see that. I want to see this week against the Bengals. I want to see what he does, because I think he'll do fine. I think he'll do just fine. I'm not positive on Jacob Martin's injury or the rest they're giving him. It sounds like he should be back. I'm not going to weigh in on that or give you my expertise opinion, because I just don't know. But I do want to see him, because his pass rush ability is elite. Last year, 17.3% pass rush win rate, which is in the top 25 of the entire league. Now, he didn't play a ton of snaps, so it's a limited sample size again, but he did play really, really well. He has his whole career. I mean, above 10% his whole career for his pass rush win rate. So I really want to see Jacob Martin too. But Dominic Robinson, I think, played really, really well on that first series. He was in on multiple of those, a tackle for a loss. He played really well. So I see this as the 9 right now. If you were to ask me who's going to make the 9, I absolutely believe this. Byron Cowart could make it over Jamari Cromot because his first game, but Jamari Cromot just looked better with his hands, looked better with his pass. I might do if I get more time, guys, I'll do more videos. I'm not full time on this. I've got a full-time job, then I've got my kids. I want this to be my thing. I would love to sell my insurance agency and do this. I can't do that until this is, 3 or 4 years down the line. That's why I have a goal of getting to 10,000 subscribers. Share this with your friends. Like, subscribe if you don't mind. There's good content I'm going to put out there. I know it's not the same as everything else you're seeing, but that's what I'm striving for, to give you my genuine, authentic, how I see this team, how I see additions, subtractions. When a signing happens, my opinion on it. When a player plays well, when he doesn't play well. I don't want you to have vanilla, because I don't listen to your national media. In fact, I don't agree with Swifty all the time. When I'm talking to him, we don't have the basics, fundamentals. We agree a lot of stuff on, but I don't agree with CHGO or PFF or all that stuff all the time, because I want to see with my own eyes and then give you guys my evaluation. All right. Secondary, not a lot changed here, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the secondary here, except Micah Baskerville and Amen Ogbong Bemiga. That's gonna be a battle. Are we gonna keep 2 of them? Because you could keep 6 linebackers at this point because of their ability on special teams and how they play. Josh Blackwell's played really, really well. So how do you decide between Jalen Jones, Josh Blackwell, Terrell Smith? I mean, you can't get rid of Jalen Johnson, Tyree Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, or Terrell Smith. Reddy Stewart has played himself right into that backup nickel role. Josh Blackwell's playing really well this preseason, though. Same with Quindell Johnson. I had him as my backup to start this offseason, and now Elijah Hicks and Tavarius Moore have played really well. Doug Coleman, Adrian Colbert basically have worked their way off the team at this point. When first cutdowns happen, I see both of them gone. But, I mean, that 4th safety spot, how do you pick between Quindell Johnson, Elijah Hicks, and Tavarius Moore? It's going to be hard to make this team. I'm going to reiterate what Matt Eberflus said over and over again. It's going to be hard to make this team. Basically, Leon Jones is going to have a hard time making the team. Drake Stroman, man, right there too. He and Josh Blackwell, they played decent. Really, Josh Blackwell and Jalen Jones have played better to me. But between that spot, who are you going to keep? I don't know. Greg Stroman has experience playing at the nickel too, so he could rotate in on both. It's tough. Leon Jones could be a really great practice squad candidate, being an undrafted free agent. Javin White, Paul Maola, I don't see either of them making the team. Carl Jones had a really good game last week, but you've got 3 guys there fighting for that spot. So that's why I wonder, do we keep 2? This is where I stand with this roster. The next couple weeks will show a lot. And then, of course, you've got the special teams. Generational punter, Torrey Taylor. And, guys, I haven't done anything on it yet, but his PFF grade was really solid. And both his punts were exactly 48 yards. Both were inside the 20, and the second one pinned them back at the 11-yard line by going out of bounds. He angled it perfectly, and he put it right where he expected to. So yeah, you're only going to keep those 3. I have suggested, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, that we cut Patrick Scales and get one of these backup tight ends or linebackers or defensive ends. I mean, geez, Khalid Kareem, if you want to make the team, learn how to long snap and take that spot. Because that's a spot where that's what Patrick Scales is. He's a backup tight end. He was a backup defensive end that didn't make it. Now he's only a a long snapper. I have nothing against Patrick Scales, but when you're limited to 53 roster spots, I want to see I want to see extra guys that are. We're in a position, guys, where look at these backups down here, this depth. We're in a position where these guys are actually competing for jobs, and other teams might take them from us when we go down to our cutdowns. I'm looking at other teams like the Lions and the Browns when they make their cutdowns, guys that we could sign because we have $21 million in cap space. I'm looking at that, and there's opportunity. Other places could be taking some of our guys when it comes down to cutdown time. Absolutely. So, especially Steven Carlson as well. I mean, he's played really. How do you choose between Steven Carlson and Brennan Bates? Well, to me, Brennan Bates has just had such a great offseason. He's a rookie. You've got 3 years of control. How do you not keep him? Steven Carlson's played really well too, though. And the same here. Austin Reed, Tyson Bagent, Brett Rippon, Kerry Blasingame, Travis, they'll be signed. So that's a rough thing to have to navigate and go through here. So, all right, let's get to my players of the game. I actually have the headlines correct this time. I corrected. So the playmakers for the playmakers, I've got Caleb Williams, 24 snaps, 11 of 15. Oh, that's not right. That was from last week's. Man, I always do something to screw it up. Sorry, guys. And Ian Wheeler's stats aren't right either. So I just changed out the players, but I got Ian Wheeler. He had 5 carries for 40-plus yards, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. Forgive that. Caleb Williams was 4 for 7, 98 yards, 13 yards rushing, and 103 quarterback rating. Forgive that one. The rest of these will be right. I know I double-checked them. Man, it's not showing up really clean, though. Bill Murray, 19 snaps, 0 pressures allowed, 77.1 PFF grade, 100% pass block efficiency. Second week in a row, I've got him as my O-line player of the grade. Next up, Austin Booker. Man, I want to make that smaller somehow. Sorry about that, guys. Can't change it mid-roll here. Had to upload it, and the way the PowerPoint was just made it look funny. It's 24 snaps, 23.1 pass rush win rate, which is extremely elite, and still a very high pressures per snap as well. Khalid Kareem, I put in there as an honorable mention. 24 snaps, 1 sack, 2 tackles, 1 assisted tackle as well, and 14.3 pass rush win rate. Both of those guys played well enough to be the D-line players of the game. Then I've got my secondary, Micah Baskerville. None of that looks good. Sorry, guys. I will get that cleaned up for next week. Micah Baskerville, obviously the pick 6, interception for a touchdown, 97 PFF grade, 16.7 NFL pass rating against him, 1 pressure as well on the pass rush, and 19 snaps for him. And then Torrey Taylor, 2 punts, both inside the 20, and he had a 80.9 PFF grade, so it looked really good from him too. All right, so here's what's coming up for the Bears. You see the 3 check marks on the side. You got the Hall of Fame game out of the way. Hard Knocks episode 1 out of the way. Bears at the Bills preseason game out of the way. Wins on both those. We're 2-0. Nobody can deny that we're undefeated so far. We're undefeated right now. What's coming up next? Hard Knocks on Tuesday. They will have practice again tomorrow. Hard Knocks on Tuesday. It's going to be really fun. I'll do something with Hard Knocks. It's going to be fun to watch this game, the excitement of the team, Micah Baskerville's pick 6, Ian Wheeler's 2 touchdowns, Thalos Jones touchdown, watching the Caleb Williams first pass to DJ Moore, and then the screen pass, and then the pass on the sideline to Cole Kmet, to watch that on Hard Knocks, to watch the team reacting to it, to watch the things that are said. I'm just as excited for Hard Knocks as I am for the games, and I'm very excited for the games. So that's going to be fun on Tuesday. Joint practice with the Bengals on Thursday, and then the game same time, Bengals at the Bears. So this will be at Soldier Field. Preseason game number 3 is technically week number 2 of preseason, but preseason week game number 3 for us because we had the Hall of Fame game August 17th. That's Saturday at 12 Central Time, 10 my time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I want to see some fireworks in that game. I want to see this team so motivated and pumped up from the preseason, even that our backups, that our starters. I want to see Caleb come out with more confidence. He had a lot of confidence, but to see him go out and to see the team drive down the field with precision and accuracy, those jitters out of the way, the first game out of the way, and I want to see a touchdown on the first drive. I'm greedy. I'm selfish. I want to see it, and I expect it. If it doesn't happen, I'll be all right, guys. I'll survive. I'll be fine. But I do want to see it. It's going to be a lot of fun to see that game. I'll be tuning in for it. I'm going to do a pregame show for that one. I'll schedule that on here so you guys can see it fairly soon, so you can have it coming up so you'll be aware of it. But I will do a pregame for that one. I'll actually be up in Utah for a wedding. A family member, a niece of mine, is getting married. My brother's daughter is getting married the day before, luckily, on Friday. Not impeding with my game, but I'll still be up there visiting family. But I will come and do a pregame show for that. I'll still give my takes in between as well. And then on and on we go. Hard Knocks, Bears at Chiefs. And then the other noticeable thing I'm trying to get down to on August 27th. So 2 weeks and a day from when this airs. So same day as Hard Knocks. So Tuesday on that episode 4, you're going to see the cut downs. On an episode 5, you'll see the cut downs happen. So it'll be fun to watch all that, but those cut downs will happen. And then immediately after that, you might see us sign someone. You might see us cut down to 53, sign someone, and then cut someone else. It's going to be really, I'll be covering all of that with you guys on that day. I might actually be going live for part of that. We'll see what happens. We'll gauge it as it comes. And then the season opener, obviously, against the Titans on September 8th. The final preseason game is on a Thursday, just so you guys know. Bears at Chiefs. That is on a Thursday. And then the following Tuesday, is it a Thursday or Friday? Yeah, it's a Thursday. And then the following Tuesday is the final episode, the 4th episode of Hard Knocks, and then the 53-man cut down. So lots happening, lots going on, a lot of fun. I am going to go live for the game, Bears at Chiefs preseason game. I'm going live for that. So tune in for that, plan on it. I'll put something out there. Be a lot of fun to watch the game and follow along with you guys as it happens. Maybe we'll have a guest come on as well and do it at the same time. We'll see what happens, but that's the schedule coming up. That's what we have to look forward to in the near future. Here, back over here. And the only other thing I kind of missed to say here, I put a video out on Sunday. Jalen Hutchings, defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. We signed him to the 90-man roster. So 90-man roster is filled once again. Once again, it's filled after a couple of cuts. Long snapper and Peter LeBlanc was cut, and then the injury from Theo Benedict. So we're back to 90-man on the 90-man roster. So we do have another defensive interior to fight for that spot. You can see that's 9 defensive interiors on the team fighting for 4 spots there. So that'll be fun to follow. A lot of this will be fun to follow. Everything fun to follow on this team. But those are the grades for the game. Those are the Bears versus Bills grades. There's my thoughts on the roster as it stands right now. Just a quick recap of it. Doug Kramer, Ian Wheeler, Tevin Jenkins, DJ Moore, Bill Murray, Aviante Collins, Cole Kmet, Austin Reed, Caleb Williams. All did really well. In fact, guys, I'm going to share this with you. Let me pull up. I haven't gotten in trouble yet for it, so I guess we'll push our luck, right? That's kind of what I do sometimes. This is PFF. These are the grades. I'll just kind of scroll through it for you guys. This is the offensive grades. You can see how everybody did. And it just tears down in order of how their offensive ranking went. Keenan Allen, 61.9. So, you know, you're falling into the beginning. A lot of these can be excused. You roll down DeAndre Carter, Roma Dunze, Nasimba Webster, Tyler Scott. So some of those guys might be on the bubble a little bit. Not the starters, not our stars. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. Then on the defensive side, Micah Baskerville, Eamon Ogbong Gibemiga, Quindell Johnson, Khalid Kareem, and then you scroll down, Austin Booker, Jack Sanborn, Jonathan Owens came back and played really well. Dominic Robinson had a decent game. I mean, these are all high grades, though. Take it. I mean, 65 and above, 60 and above is still really good. Sean Mallory did fine. Daniel Hardy, Jervon Dexter, Jamari Chroma all played really well. The only place you start to get worried is you get down here. Leon Jones didn't have the best grade. Elijah Hicks, who I wasn't happy with last year. And the star means they started the game. Kevin Byard. So some of these guys had a little rougher game. You don't want to see that. Go back to the offense. Tevin Jenkins, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, Braxton Jones, Coleman Shelton. I think your grade should be higher than that. They didn't, especially. I don't know what the sometimes the grades don't always match up to what you see. Matt Pryor did start. Really good pass blocking. They had him lower on the run blocking. Coleman Shelton, they had him lower on the run blocking. But if you watch my all-22 on him, you saw the crackback block he had after the screen, man. he looked really good. I don't have any concerns about Coleman Shelton has earned the starting job, in my opinion, at this point. He's going to be our starting center. He's mobile. He's agile. Good snaps, clean snaps with Caleb. No snaps, no issues, no problems on any of that with Caleb through the first game. So everything looked really clean, really good there. So I'm not worried about any of that. Let's go to special teams real quick so you guys can just see that. There's a special, and there's a lot because a lot of guys are in there on different plays, making tackles, doing different things. Quindell Johnson, Cameron Knight's not going to make the team anyways. There's a long snapper, John Jackson, not. So you get up here, really everything down. It didn't look great for a lot of these guys, but then there's a couple of guys that stood out. Simba Webster, Brennan Bates, Jonathan Owens was good on special teams, Josh Blackwell, Doug Coleman. Elijah Hicks, Tavarius Moore, Jalen Jones, Greg Stroman, Dominique Robinson. And so that all looks good. Just kind of scrolling this so you guys see it. See the coverage grades on defense. You want to see the coverage grades. So there's the guys in coverage. You don't like to see these guys down here at the bottom. That's what Kevin Byard got hammered for. It looks like he had 4 opportunities to be a defender. 3 of them were caught. Went for quite a few yards. And that's what the hammer is on him right now. You see his NFL pass rating against 96.9. That's not great. Not terrible, but it's not great. And then let's go to pass rush. I like to show pass rush as well. Here's your pass rush, guys. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's your win rate. Jack Sanborn on 2 pass rush opportunities, 1/2 of them. And it's a limited sample size. Take what you want from that on a limited sample size. But when you look at these pass rush weights, the guys that had a lot of them, that's not accurate because, like I said, he wasn't really pass rushing. He just slipped off. But when you see Austin Booker, 18.2, Daniel Hardy, 15.8, Khalid Kareem, 22.2, Jamry Chroma, 15.2, Jervon Dexter, 18.2, even Andrew Billings and Dominique Robinson. That's really one of the biggest encouraging things for me from this game. And then the PRP on these guys that played a lot of snaps. So Daniel Hardy, Austin Booker, Jamry Chroma, Khalid Kareem, Zach Pickens. No, you were getting into a range you don't want to be in. So Jervon down lower, Zach Pickens down lower. But one game sample is what it is. But just so you guys can see some of that. I know that's small on a lot of your screens. I just don't want to go too in depth on the PFFs. These are premium stats, something I'm paying a premium for. I want to share a lot of that with you, but I don't want to get in trouble either. I'm not sharing my passwords or anything with you guys or letting you guys log in, so it's not like I'm doing something really wrong. But one more time, if you want to join the Fantasy Football League, please go on there. Please send me a message on Twitter or on my email. Let me know. 2 weeks from now is when we're going to be doing the draft party for that. Please like and subscribe if you haven't by now. I really appreciate you guys doing that. I am making a push. I'm going to mention it a few more times. I don't mention it enough because I do need to ask for subscriptions. I need to let you guys know if you like what I'm doing, please share it. Please like it. Please let the algorithm take over because I do want to grow this. Appreciate everything all of you guys have done so far. This has been a fun channel, a fun community, a fun opportunity for me to be a part of this with you guys. This is going to be a historic season. Not getting into predictions on this one. I am going to get back into my predictions again soon. I'm going to go over a lot of stuff with that, but this is meant to be the grades for the game, where the team stands right now and how I view it. With that, we're coming up on an hour. I want to thank you guys again. Claws up, bear down. Appreciate every single one of you. Appreciate all you guys do for the community because this is a fun community. With that, dabears.